Thank you, Mr. President. This week it was announced that Sydney's third city will be named Bradfield in honour of John Bradfield, an engineer who designed, of course, the Harbour Bridge and heavy rail system that Sydney enjoys today and implemented the wheel and spoke heavy rail network that has been in place for over 100 years. Bradfield will be built adjacent to Sydney's second airport at Bringelly, and will grow into the third city alongside the other city centres of Sydney and Parramatta. Premier Bradfield said Bradfield would define Australia's first 22nd century city, a key driver of economic growth, and deliver up to 200,000 jobs across Western Parkland City, which is, of course, Bradfield, and support 50,000 jobs in Bradfield alone. The name Bradfield is synonymous with delivering game-changing infrastructure, and it sets the right tone for the area we have referred to as the Aerotropolis until now. This area will be transformed into a thriving city centre, home to advanced manufacturing, research, science and education, and we want Bradfield to be as iconic as the existing major city centres of Sydney and Parramatta, our third great city. In the city of the past, the workers lived and slept in dormitory suburbs in the rings around our city and travelled daily, mostly daily by rail, to the city centre to work in businesses or work in factories in the inner city. Today, contemporary city planning complements the wheel and spoke infrastructure of the past by connecting arches or rings around our cities, because jobs today are not just in the city and the CBD. They are decentralised to the hubs like Liverpool, Penrith, Blacktown, Parramatta, Westmead. Travellers today do not necessarily have to go to the CBD for work. They don't have to go to the CBD for jobs or medical attention or for tourism or for government, business with government or education needs. They can find all these services in Western Sydney today, which has so much to offer and so much more in the future. The 30-minute city is the principle driving this employment transformation. Live, work and play within 30 minutes of your home. As members would be aware, there have been reports in recent weeks about the cost of the Sydney Metro West Line, which will accompany the airport, one of the ring connections. What many also failed to note in their attempts to criticise this game-changing project is that the report also emphasised that transport links needed to be bolstered in the city that will emerge around the Western Sydney Airport. The Sydney Metro West was an election commitment by the Bradfield government, and we are delivering on it, unashamedly. The Morrison and Bradfield governments are jointly delivering the 23-kilometre metro railway and 6 stations between St Mary's and the Western Sydney Aerotropolis, including 2 stations at the airport. The project will support 14,000 jobs, including 250 apprentices. The Western Sydney Airport has been spoken about for decades and decades, and it is the coalition government and the state and federal level that is finally delivering on that talk, something that Labor would know nothing about, I'm afraid to say. What those opposite would understand is when planning for major infrastructure projects such as the airport, it is imperative that it is supported by the necessary transport infrastructure, in this case the Sydney Metro West. Those criticising the Metro West rail seem to have a very short memory indeed, as it was not long ago that there was a chorus of demand that a train line accompany the airport. The Infrastructure Australia report stated that demand for the line from St Mary's to the airport at Badgerys Creek is projected to rise by about 80% of the line's capacity by 2056. While this may seem far away to some, the Bradfield government knows the importance of planning for the future. People have been calling for that for decades. It was left to those opposite, nothing will be done, much like the 16 wasted years in government we all lived through. No. Meanwhile, the potential for the extension of the heavy rail from Leppington to the airport, which has been talked about by members in this chamber, has been provided for with the corridor identified and being zoned. Meanwhile, Minister Constance said in a statement that I cannot point to one example of rail project which hasn't exceeded our expectations in terms of patronage, uplift, economic benefits over the past 10 years. All of our rail projects have been extraordinary, and I know this new metro will be exactly the same. This will be the legacy of the Bradfield government, delivering record infrastructure projects. We don't put things in the too hard basket. We invest in the future of our great state and for the future of our great state.